All right, welcome to your next homework assignment. We're doing convex and concave. So if it forms a cave, then you call it concave. So anytime that you have a vertex that goes in towards the middle of your figure, that's concave. So that will be concave. That's number one. Number three, none of these go in, they all go out. So that's going to be convex. Next slide. Now we have to plot all of these, or you're going to have to find the distances between them. So I think if you plot some of these, it'll be easy to count. So 2, 4 is G. H is at 2, negative 3. All right. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. J is at negative 2, negative 3. And stop right there. You can go from H to J by going 1, 2, 3, 4. And then K is at negative 2, 4. So there we have all of it. It is a rectangle, so that's 7 and this is 4. So the perimeter on number 5 is equal to 7 plus 7 plus 4 plus 4. 14 plus 8, that's 22. All right, so we'll do number 7. Negative 2, 4. 2, 3, 4. That is U. V is at 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So that's horizontal, so we can count that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 3, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is W. Now that's vertical, so we can count this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The issue is we need that right there, okay? So if we use the Pythagorean theorem, or you could use the distance formula. So just for the sake of doing the distance formula, to remind you, because you have to have this memorized, we need the distance from U to W. So negative 2 minus 3, and we square it, and 4 minus a negative 4, and square it. So that's negative 5, and that's 8. And at this point, everything becomes positive. 25 and 64 is 89. All right? So we use our handy-dandy calculator, and that's approximately 9.4. So the perimeter is 5 plus 8 plus 9.4. 22.4. All right, next slide. Number 9. So the horizontal and the vertical lines, we can all count those, but there's only one horizontal line, and that's right here. That's 2 units. So now you're going to use the distance formula to do everything else. So the distance from P to N, and you need to do this so you get faster at it. So negative 1 minus 2, and negative 2 minus 0. That would be negative 3 squared. That's negative 2 squared. Make everything positive. That's the square root of 13. So that is 3.6 approximately. And now you need the distance from P to L. So again, distance formula, negative 1 minus 1, and negative 2 minus 4. And so that is negative 2 squared and negative 6 squared, which is 4, and 36, which is the square root of 40. And the square root of 40 is approximately 6.32, or 6.3 is fine. And now you also need the distance from L to M. And notice it doesn't really take that long once you've learned this. So learn it so you're good at it. 1 minus 4, and 4 minus 0. So that's negative 3, and that's 4. So that's 9 plus 16, which is 25, which is 5. So we have the original 2, and then 3.6, 6.3, and 5. So 5.6, 11.6, 11.9, 16.9. That's your perimeter. Okay, so now we're finding the area of a polygon. So we need to graph it. So 3, 1, 3, negative 2. So this is E and G. And negative 2 is F. Oh, I'm sorry, that's G. And this is F. 3, 1, 3, negative 2, and negative 2, negative 2. So we have a triangle. It is a right triangle because you have this vertical line and horizontal line here. And then you have that distance there. So to find the area of a triangle, you have to have memorized 1/2 base times height. All right, so because a triangle is half of a rectangle. Okay, so 1/2, the base is either one of the sides that's hooked to the 90-degree part. So from negative 2, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 units. And we can go up 1, 2, 3, 3 units. So that's your base and your height in either order. It doesn't matter. So 1/2 times 5 times 3. Now you can take 5 times 3 and take 1/2, or you can take 1/2 of either one of those, whichever one's easier, because it's all multiplication. It doesn't matter what order you do it in. So neither one of those are even, so it doesn't matter which one you take 1/2 of. So let's just do 15 halves. And that would be the area of that triangle. So the area of the triangle is equal to 15 halves. And that's square units. Because it's how many squares fit inside your diagram. So that's why it's called square units. How many little squares fit inside it. All right, so let's go and do number 13. Same thing. We're going to graph it. 0, 0 is W. All right, and 0, 3, 1, 2, 3 is X. Y is at negative 3, 3, 1, 2, 3. And Z is at negative 3, 0. Okay, so we have a square. It's 3 by 3. So the area of, a square is just base times height. But don't ever think of a square as base times height. You need to think of it as side times side, which is equal to side squared. So the area of a square is S squared. That's how you need to start thinking of it. So it's equal to 3 squared, or 9 square units. All right, next slide. All right, so number 15. Use the diagram to find the perimeter and the area of whatever polygon they're talking about. So number 15, we're looking at CDE. So C, D, and E. So this triangle here, it looks like a right triangle. You can check the slope. So going from E to C, we go up 2 and over 4. Up 2 and over 2. That's a slope of 1. And if we go from E to F, that's going down 2 and over 2. So negative 2 over 2. So those are negative reciprocals of each other. So I know that that is a right triangle. So those two lines, EC and ED, are opposite reciprocals of each other, and that makes a right triangle. So you have your base and your height there that you can use. But if you can find another base and height, and remember base and height has to be connected to 90 degrees. Watch this in blue. If I do this line right here, and from the vertex of E straight down, that's going to be 90 degrees as well. And we can count horizontal and vertical lines. We could use the other two lines, but those aren't vertical or horizontal. So it's always better to use vertical and horizontal lines. If we had to use the other ones, you'd have to use the distance formula to figure those out. So always be mindful for horizontal and vertical lines if it works. All right, so now C to D, we'll call that our base. So again, this is a triangle. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. All right, so 1/2. The base we'll say is CD. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And the height would be that altitude from E straight down to your line. That is called an altitude. From a vertex perpendicular, which is what 90 degrees mean, perpendicular to the other side. And that's 2 units. So the area of this triangle is 1/2 of 4 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. But we also have to do, units. You also have to do perimeter. So we do have to do the distance from E to C and E to D. So we didn't get away from it. Let's go ahead and do that as well. So let's do, we already know what CD is. CD is equal to, what do we say, 4? Yeah. And now let's do EC. EC is equal to 2 minus 4 and -3 minus a -1. All right. So what we have here, let me erase some of this stuff, get it out of the way. Oops. There we go. All right. 2 minus 4 is -2. And change for the minus sign. -3 plus 1 is -2. So we're going to have +4 and a +4. That's the square root of 8. All right. So let's leave it as a square root of 8 so at the moment. But we are going to have to break it down. 2 and 4. And 4 is just 2 without the radical. So that's equal to 2 square root of 2. So let's just save that for a minute and let's do the other one. We got to do E to D. ED is equal to 2 minus 4 and -3 minus 5. All right, so what do we have there? Again, that's -2 squared. And -3 minus 5 is -8. And when you square those, make them positive. So that's going to be 4 plus 64, or the square root of 68. All right, so now let's break that down. Let's do 2 and 34. All right, bring it down one more, and that's going to be 2 and 17. Now, we don't know the square root of 17, but the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, or just 2. So this is 2 square root of 17. The other one was 2 square root of 2. Since they're all different, we'll use our calculator and figure out what those are. Square root of 8 is going to be 2.82. And then the square root of 68 is going to be 8.24. All right, so for perimeter of this figure, we have 4 plus 2.82 plus 8.24. We add all those together. Let's see here, 2 and 4. I get 15.1 approximately. So we use our approximation symbol, 15.1 units. All right, so we have our units, and we also have our perimeter, and we also have our area. All right, so let's do number 17. Go ahead and erase this part. It keeps wanting to erase my picture. All right, so now what's our next one? Number 17. BCEF. So BCEF. And they're all diagonals, so you're going to have to do perimeter, so we have to do the distance on all of them. Except you only have to do it twice, because it is a rectangle, and these are all at 90 degrees, so that means they're parallel on each side and the same distance. So if we do BF, BF is also equal to CE, so we only have to do this once for those two sides. Excuse me. So I'm going to use the BF coordinates. All right. So B to F is 0 and a -2, and 3 and a 1. So we have change. That's 2 squared. 3 minus 1 is 2. I'm going to square that as well. So that's 4 plus 4. So the square root of 8 again. So again, if we just put that down, that's 2.82. All right, let's see, let's do, and we got to multiply that by 2 because there's 2 sides. All right, so multiply it, you get 5.66. All right, now let's do BC, and BC is the same as EF. All right, So let's figure this out. I'll use B and C. So 0 and a 4, and you have a 3 and a -1. Don't forget your negative is not the same thing as a subtraction sign, okay? So -4, and change, that's 4. So 16 is 16. Remember, everything's positive when you square it. So 16 plus 16, that's the square root of 32. So let's go ahead and figure out the square root of 32, which is 5.66. But you have to multiply that by 2 because you have 2 of them. So 7.66. That doesn't sound right. Let me check that again. Square root of 32 times 2. Yeah, 11.31. And it's important that you make sure everything sounds right when you're doing it. So yeah, 2 times 5 is 10, so it had to be more than 7. 11.31 is what that is. So if we add those two together, 11.31 plus 5.66, you get 16.97. The perimeter of B, C, E, F is equal to 16.97 units. All right, now let's do the area. Area of a rectangle is length times width, base times height, however you want to say it. So either one. So we just need one length. So if we use the square root of 32 for BC and the square root of 8 for BF, we multiply those together. Square root of 32 times the square root of 8. So we can put those together as 32 times 8. So 32 times 8 on your calculator is 256. Oops. And this is why you didn't want to use the rounded numbers, because if you use the actual numbers, this is an exact number. The square root of 8 and the square root of 32 are exact. Those decimals are rounded. So anytime you see the word exact, it means don't touch your calculator. Now this doesn't say that, but this is why you want to always leave things in either fraction form or radical form. Because the square root of 256 is exactly 16. Okay, so that's 16 square units. All right, so the perimeter is almost the same as the area. All right, let's go on. Number 19. So we're skipping to number 19 here. Describe the area. So let's do the problem first. We're finding the area of a triangle. So again, I see a horizontal line, and if I drop an altitude from vertex A straight down to that base, I know just by counting what the area of this is. So if I do it that way, my base is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we got to do a half. It's a triangle. And my height is 1, 2. So let me draw that with yellow here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the height is 1, 2. All right. So half of 8 is 4. So that's the actual area for this. They came up with 2 square root of 5. So what did they do wrong? So notice we did the problem first. Let's take a look here. So they have the base, and they took 5 minus 1. So this is the 5 minus the 1 there to get the length of the base, which is 4. So that part was correct. We had the exact same thing for the base. Now the height, they did 5 minus 4. They took it from B to A. They said that was the height. Well, the height has to be attached to the base at 90 degrees. So that's what they did wrong. All right, and we figured the actual answer out. Going on. Number 23. You're building a school garden. The diagram shows the 4 vertices of the garden. Each unit in the coordinate plane represents 1 foot. Find the perimeter and the area. All right, perimeter. Well, the perimeter goes from one point to the next. So let me change this to yellow here. So we can count or you can subtract. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And this would be 12 up here. It's a perfect triangle, or a rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's 5. So we have 12 plus 12 plus 5 plus 5. All right, so 24 plus 10 is equal to 34 units. And this would be feet. So let's learn this. That little apostrophe there means feet. If you have two of them, that means inches. Or you could just write FT. All right, so 34 feet. Or you're welcome to write it like that. Now, area is length times width in a rectangle, or base times height. Doesn't matter. So we have 12 times 5. And that would be 60 square feet. So to say square feet, you can't use the apostrophe, okay? So you'd have to write it like that. All right, another real life problem here. You and your friend hike to a waterfall that is 4 miles east. So another north, south, east, west thing. We're assuming that you are at the origin here. All right, so if you and your friend hike to a waterfall that is 4 miles east of where you left your bikes. So you left your bikes at the origin. So you hike 4 miles east. And then you go 2 miles north. 1, 2. All right, you went north 2 miles to a lookout, and then from the lookout point you returned to your bikes right there. So now we went 4 miles east, 2 miles north, and then we have to figure out that as well. So it says, about how far do you hike? All right, so we have to get this information here. So we'll say this point A, point B, and point C. So point B is at 4, 0. Point C is at 4, 2. And A is at 0, 0. All right. So it's a perimeter problem. How far did you hike altogether? So part A is perimeter. 4 plus 2 plus, and now we have to get that question mark. The square root of 4 minus 0 squared plus 2 minus 0 squared. And that would be 4 squared plus 2 squared, or 16 plus 4, wow, or the square root of 20. All right, so if we use our calculator, then we're going to take the square root of 20, which should be just a little bit over 4.5. We'll just say that. All right, so you add those together. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus the 4.5 is 10.5. That's, you hiked 10.5 miles. That's pretty good. Okay, so now we're ready for part B. From the waterfall, which is point A, your friend hikes to a wishing well before going to the lookout point and returning to the bike. So before he did all that, he decided he was going to go to the wishing well. So the wishing well is 3 miles north. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 2 miles west. 1, 2. So that's the wishing well. All right. Now, about how far does your friend hike? So he goes north 3 and west 2. And now we got to get that part. So that is at -2, 3. All right, so this is before he goes to the waterfall, or before he goes to the lookout point. All right, so let's figure out what we have here. Again, it's a perimeter. It's 3 plus 2 plus WA. All right, WA would be -2 minus 0 and 3 minus 0. So that's -2 squared and 3 squared. So 4 plus 9. So the square root of 13 is what you want to look up, and that should be 3.6, I do believe. So let me check that to make sure. Yep, 3.6. All right. So that's how far he went in miles. Oh, not 3.6. You have the 3 plus 2 plus the 3.6. So 5 plus 3.6, that's going to be 8.6 miles. That's before he went to the lookout point. So your friend actually for the whole day went 19.1 miles. All right, next question. Now we're going to the review stuff. These are very important just to review all the things you are supposed to have learned. So 35. 3x minus 7 equals 2. We're solving for x. So let's add 7 to remove the 7. We want to get x by itself. So that's 9 on the right. And always, 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 there's too many of you that are dropping the equal sign, and then that's where you make your mistake. So always keep like a wall of where the equal sign is at. And you're moving things back and forth. That's a good way to think about it. All right, so we have 3x on the left and 9 on the right. Now we divide by 3. X is equal to 3. All right, we solved for it. All right, 37. X plus 4 equals x minus 12. All right, there's nothing to do on each side. Here's your wall. We need to get our x's together. So I'm going to subtract x from the right side. And when I do that, I see that my x's are gone, and I have 4 equals negative 12. This is a no solution because 4 doesn't equal negative 12. All right, next slide. 39. Use the diagram. Give another name for the segment RT. So this is very important for you to know your symbols. Very easy problem. Number 39. The only other way you can write it is TR. Segment TR. All right, so the endpoints of a segment are given. Find the midpoint and the length. So there's two parts to this. So the midpoint's pretty easy. The midpoint, it would be x plus x, 4 plus 2 over 2, and 3 plus negative 3 over 2. And remember, these are coordinates. So that's 6 over 2 or 3, and 3 plus negative 3 is 0. 0 over anything is 0. So our midpoint's at 3, 0. Now the length of the segment, so now we're doing distance, j to k. Notice there's no line above j and k. So x minus x, 4 minus 2, and 3 minus a negative 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. And change for the minus sign, that's 6 squared. So 4 plus 36 is the square root of 40. And it doesn't say how to do this, so I'm going to show you again. The square root of 4 times the square root of 10. You have to know how to do this. That's 2. And the square root of 2 and the square root of 5. So once you can't go any further, any radicals left over have to be put together. So this is 2 square root of 10. All right, and then to cover all our bases, go ahead and simplify it because you have to do this from now on. Also tell me what the calculator says for the square root of 40. So it is approximately 6.3. Next. Oh, that's it. So that's your homework for the day.